Okay, this is quiz 3. If you don't already have a copy of the quiz in front of you, you will need it in order to do this because I can't rewrite easily everything that's on the quiz. So, number 1, you've got a rock being thrown upward with a velocity of 10, initial velocity of 10 meters per second, and the height is given by that equation. You're supposed to find the average velocity over the interval from 1 to 1.5. So, the idea here is that you've got this function, which is, you could write it as y, well, the way it's written here, y equals 10t minus 1.86 t squared. But it really is a function of t, and so that's how I think of it. So that what I'm interested in as the average velocity is the change in distance with respect to the change in time. So what this formula is giving me is the height. So what I really need to do is to calculate the change in height over the change in time, which in this case is going to be what f does at time 1.5 minus what f does at time 1 divided by the difference between the two times, 1.5 minus 1. So that's just going to be what you get when you plug in 1.5 in here. So I can do 1.5 times 10 in my head. That's, I think, 15. And then I have to put 1.5 in here and square it and multiply it by 1.86. So it's 1.86 times 1.5 squared. And that's good enough for f of 1.5. Then I have to subtract f of 1. So that's going to be 10 minus 1.86 times 1. Now here, I should put this in parentheses, and I'm running out of room. So it's 10 minus 1.86 times 1 squared, like that. That's good. It fits. And that's all divided by 1.5 minus 1, which is 0.5. Okay. Now the question says, leave your answer in terms of numbers that could be computed on a calculator, so don't do any arithmetic. Well, I already did some arithmetic, maybe I shouldn't have even done that. 1.5 minus 1, I could leave that as 1.5 minus 1. But I'm not interested in testing your arithmetic skills. I'm not interested in seeing whether you know how to use a calculator. That's not part of this course. So this is the answer that I would expect you to just leave. What you need to know is how do you get the average speed or the average velocity. And that's this difference quotient, the change in position divided by the change in time. Okay, that leaves us with number 2, and you have to look at that graph, which I'm not going to try to reproduce here. But the first question asks you to calculate the limit as x approaches 2 from the left. And as I look at that picture, as x gets closer and closer to 2 from the left, I'm looking at a curve that looks like this, and as x gets closer and closer to 2, the y values are getting closer and closer to 3. So the first answer is 3. Next question says, what happens as x approaches 2 from the right? Well, the picture now has jumped down to here, where there's a hole in the picture, and it's going up like that. And yeah, there was a filled in point, but that doesn't matter as far as the limit is concerned. Anyway, from the right, as x approaches 2 from the right, the y values are going towards this circle, which is located 1 unit above the x-axis. So the answer to part B is 1. Next, it asks you what is the limit as x approaches 2 of this function? Well, if the limit from the left and the limit from the right are different, then the limit does not exist. And DNE is okay for saying does not exist. F of 2 is the y value at 2. That's just 3. And then, what is the limit as x approaches 4? Well, you've got to look at what's happening as x gets close to 4. And you've got this thing going up to here somehow, where there's a hole in the graph, and then it just continues on from there. And what that y value is, as far as the limit is concerned, is just 4. So the function seems to get closer and closer to this point. Now, the fact that it's not there at x equal to 4 has nothing to do with the limit. As far as the limit is concerned, whether you're coming from the right, whether you're coming from the left, the y values are all getting close to 4. So the answer is 4. But the question, what's f of 4? Since there's a hole at 4, the answer is there is no value. So f of 4 does not exist either. And that's it for quiz number 3.